Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope you all doing well. Dear students, this lecture is for grade 10, subject chemistry. And in this lecture, we will discuss the remaining topics of chapter number 14. This is my 27th lecture, and I am your lecturer, Mrs. Saira Jamal. Today I'm going to talk about the very important topic of this chapter, that is global warming. What is global warming? Global warming is an aspect of climate change referring to the long-term rise of the planet's temperature. And how this rise in temperature of the planet takes place, it is caused by increased concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, mainly from human activities such as burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and farming. So global warming is actually the rise of the planet's temperature. The temperature of the earth increases day by day. And what causes this increase in temperature? That is due to the greenhouse gases which are formed or which are released in the atmosphere from the human activities, and those human activities are burning of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, I told you, coal, petrol, and natural gas. Also, deforestation and farming are the causes of global warming. In this image, you can see that the ultraviolet radiations which comes from the sun, it is also called ultraviolet or visible light, which reaches the earth. Some of those radiations are absorbed by the earth, and the remaining radiations are reflected back. This is the reflected light. Some of the radiations or some of the light is reflected back to the atmosphere in the form of infrared radiation. IR stands for infrared radiations. Okay, this is actually the normal process which takes place. But what happened due to the greenhouse gases? They entrap or they prevent the movement of or the release of these infrared radiation into the atmosphere. They entrap these infrared radiation, or they absorb these infrared radiation, and then in turn, due to this absorption of the infrared radiation, the temperature of the earth increases. As I told you that the global warming is due to the greenhouse gases which absorb or which entrap the infrared radiation, and they prevent their release back into the atmosphere. So a greenhouse, what are greenhouse gases? A greenhouse gas is a gas that absorbs and emits radiant energy within the thermal infrared range. Infrared range means there are specific ranges for each type of radiation, and that range, inshallah, you will learn in your higher classes. But that range, those radiation which are in this range, they're called infrared radiation. Greenhouse gases cause the greenhouse effect on planet. The primary greenhouse gases in Earth atmosphere are water vapors, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and ozone. These are the greenhouse gases which absorb infrared radiation, and they does not allow the release of infrared radiation into the atmosphere. As they absorb those infrared radiation, so this increase the temperature of the earth. In this image, you can see the greenhouse gases. Like normally, you know that in atmosphere, nitrogen gas, oxygen gas, water vapors, carbon dioxide gas, methane, they are normally present in air. But out of these gases, water vapors, carbon dioxide, and methane, I told you they absorb infrared radiation. You can see the sunlight or the ultraviolet radiation, they come from the sun and fall on earth, heated by absorbed solar radiation. Then some the other radiation, they are reflected back in the form of infrared radiation, and these radiations are absorbed by these greenhouse gases, and when they absorb these radiation, they in turn increase the temperature of the earth atmosphere. What are the causes of global warming? There are many causes, but as I told you that mostly the greenhouse gases are produced by or released by human activities. And what are those? First one is power plants. The power plants, like they emit carbon dioxide gases, and they are emitted from electricity production. Then transportation, like most of the vehicles or automobiles, they release the harmful gases or greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Farming, deforestation, fertilizers, oil drilling, natural gas drilling, and these permafrost. All these processes releases these harmful gases or these greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. During these processes, you can say that these gases are also produced or released into the atmosphere, which are called greenhouse gases, and these greenhouse gases then in turn causes global warming, which is also called greenhouse effect. You can see the sources from which the greenhouses percentage increases in the atmosphere day by day are electrical power station, then industrial processes, transportation fuels, and land which use biomass burning, agricultural production, fossil fuel burning, residential, commercial, and other sources, waste disposal and treatment like incineration is also a process. It's called waste disposal and treatment process, also produces harmful gases or these greenhouse gases. So power station, industries, transports, incineration or waste disposal and treatment, then residential or commercial sources, fossil fuel, and land which use biomass for production of power, agriculture production, and transportation. These are the main causes or human activities which increases the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Effect of global warming or greenhouse effect. The first one, temperature of the earth will gradually increases as there are more greenhouse gases. So more greenhouse gases will absorb more infrared radiation, and then there will be more increase in temperature of the earth atmosphere. Second, the earth climate may change, affecting both where there is rainfall and how much there is of it. And this could cause both increased risk of flooding in both regions and drought in other regions. So this global warming may affect drought in the some region and flooding in other regions. Polar ice may melt and cause significant increase in sea level, so the atmosphere becomes hotter. As I told you, effect of global warming, there are some other effects like enhance greenhouse effect, keep more heat on Earth. Due to these absorption of these gases or infrared radiation by the gases which are present, they may increase the temperature of the earth. You can see increase the temperature of the earth, and this heat, which is more heat will produce, and this more heat will increase the temperature of the earth. Then there will be stronger hurricanes and cyclones. Then desertification, as I told you, drought in some region, decrease in snow cover and ice, that is, you can say, melting of the polar ice, increasing sea level, then yeah, increasing sea level. These are some of the effects of global warming. Increased temperature, more heat on earth due to the absorption of more greenhouse gases, they will absorb more infrared radiation. Then they will increase the heat of the earth, which in turn increase the temperature of the earth. Then stronger hurricanes and cyclones will produce. Then desertification will take place, drought in some area, and polar ice will melt, which will increase the level of sea, and they may also cause flooding by melting of the polar ice. It may also cause flooding. So each day, new greenhouse gas emission further accelerate these physical changes, and less greenhouse gases leads to a cooler and safer earth. So this is in our hand. If we will reduce the burning of fossil fuel, if we will reduce the like incineration process, and for power station, instead of using fossil fuel, if we use an alternate source, so we can control the global warming. Temperature of the earth increases. In some area may cause drought. Now coming towards the next topic, which is about the acid rain. What is acid rain? Acid rain is defined as rain having pH less than 5.6. Acid rain has a pH less than 5.6, so you can say that it is not too much acidic. This pH is due to the presence of weak acid, that is carbonic acid. And how carbonic acid is formed? Normal rainwater, when react with carbon dioxide which is present in air, it forms carbonic acid. So so carbonic acid is a weak acid, and this acid decrease the temperature of the normal rainwater from 7 to 5.6, because you know that normal water is neutral, it has pH 7, but due to the presence of carbonic acid, a weak acid in rainwater, because rainwater dissolve the carbon dioxide which is present in air, and then its pH decreases to 5.6. So 5.6 is the pH of normal rain. However, the acidity of rain greatly increases in polluted areas during thunderstorm. During thunderstorm, what happened? The gases which are present in air, they react with the water or with oxygen, and then they form oxides or acids. Those acids then in turn decreases the temperature, decreases the pH of the rainwater, and make the rainwater acidic. What are those gases which during thunderstorm react with are oxidized, means react with oxygen and then with rainwater and will form acids. So sulfur dioxide, which comes from power plants using fossil fuels, and nitrogen oxide from exhaust fumes of automobile, they dissolve in water and producing acids. Suppose we have sulfur dioxide, and the sources of sulfur dioxide, power plants, fossil fuels, burning of fossil fuels also, they oxidize, or you can say they react with oxygen and will form sulfur trioxide. This sulfur trioxide form then react with water and will form sulfuric acid. As I told you that sulfur trioxide and sulfuric acid both are secondary pollutants, while sulfur dioxide is primary pollutant, because this is released directly from the source, like from power plants or from the burning of fossil fuels. But when they react with oxygen and form sulfur trioxide, that is secondary pollutant, and then this secondary pollutant then react with water to form sulfuric acid. You know sulfuric acid is a king of acid, it is a very strong acid. If we have nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere, it reacts with the oxygen and then with water to form nitric acid. Nitric acid is also a strong acid. So due to the presence of these two acids in rainwater, and this reaction takes place only during thunderstorm. No thunderstorm means no acids. But during thunderstorm, these reactions will get energy and they will form these acids. So the pH of rainwater can be much lower because of these acids, sulfuric acid and nitric acid formed by lightning. This rain may have pH as low as 2.1. So this value is lower than the pH of vinegar and lemon juice, because vinegar and lemon juice we are taking in food and they give no harm to our body. But these acids are strong acids and definitely they harm our body. What causes acid rain? You can see oxides of sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. During thunderstorm, they react with the rainwater and then produces acids, and then those acids causes the acidic rain. So this image, you can see that emission of sulfur dioxide and oxide of nitrogen are released into the air from these automobiles, from these industries, from, you can say, deforestation and burning of fossil fuel. They release these gases into the atmosphere, and then they react with water and will form acidic rain. Effect of acid rain falls hundreds of kilometers away from their sources, like in those areas where there are industries or factories or incineration takes place there. Over there, acid rain does not takes place. Acid rain only takes place you can say 100 kilometers away from those sources. And then these acid rain corrode metal, stone building and statues. Marble statues are slowly eroded by acid rain. Effect of sulfuric acid on metals, like suppose as I told you, calcium carbonate and calcium carbonate, it is called marble. So this calcium carbonate or marble, when react with the rainwater which contains sulfuric acid or nitric acid, then they form calcium sulfate, and with nitric acid form calcium nitrate. Water and carbon dioxide are common in both reactions. So definitely you can see that this calcium carbonate is washed out and will convert it into calcium sulfate and washed out with rainwater. Acid rain also kills fish and destroys trees, lakes, and rivers may become too acidic for living things to survive. Definitely, the marine life cannot survive in that acidic water, and this acidic water then in turn cause the death of those marine life. Trees also destroyed by acid rain, and fishes are killed by acid rain. You can see statues, they are eroded by acidic rain. The marble, they are washed out with the acid like nitric acid or sulfuric acid will form calcium sulfate or calcium nitrate. The buildings are also eroded out by these acids. You can see these old buildings which are washed out or eroded out by the acidic rain. Fishes are also killed due to the acidic rainwater. Forests are destroyed. The forests are also destroyed by the acidic rain. Coming toward the next very important topic, ozone depletion and its effect. What is ozone? Ozone is the allotropic form of oxygen and comprising three oxygen atoms. It is composed of three oxygen atoms. O2 is oxygen molecule and O3 is ozone molecule, because three oxygen atoms are linked together or bonded together to form ozone. Ozone is an important gas in the stratosphere. On troposphere, ozone is a pollutant, but on stratosphere, ozone is very important because ozone filters the ultraviolet radiations and prevent us from their harmful effects. You can see the structure of ozone. There are one, two, three oxygen atoms, and they are linked together or they are bonded together to form ozone molecule. Ozone layer, you know that there is a layer which surround the earth and protect the earth from harmful radiations of the sun. Most of the ultraviolet radiations coming from sun are filtered or screened out by the ozone layer. Otherwise, sunlight would be much more hazardous for human beings, animals, and plants. On absorbing ultraviolet radiation, ozone molecule breaks up to form oxygen molecule and atomic oxygen. Ozone and ultraviolet radiations fall on ozone molecule. It split into ozone molecule and atomic oxygen. Only O is oxygen atom. It is called atomic oxygen or it is called nascent oxygen. So atomic reaction is very reactive. Atomic oxygen reacts readily with an oxygen molecule to form ozone, thereby releasing heat. So these atomic oxygen then react with oxygen molecule and will form ozone, but releases heat, and that heat release actually the intense ultraviolet radiation, their heat are utilized by the breaking of ozone, and then the intensity of that heat decreases because some part of that ultraviolet radiation or hot radiation are utilized by breaking the ozone molecule. That's why the heat is released is less intense and causes no harm to the life on Earth. These reactions maintain level of ozone in the stratosphere. Both the destruction and reformation of ozone are powered by ultraviolet radiation. In the absence of outside intervention, the rate of ozone destruction and formation are equal. Without the interference of other molecules, like we know that due to pollution, some substances or radicals, they react with ozone molecule and then causes depletion of ozone layer, or in other words you can say they may cause ozone hole due to the pollutants. But in the absence of pollutant, the rate of formation of ozone and destruction of ozone, it takes place simultaneously, and then the ozone concentration remain balanced. But as I told you, due to the pollution or due to the pollutants, the concentration of ozone decreases day by day, which is called ozone hole, and the process is called ozone depletion. Other human activity disturb this natural balance, disturb human activity because we are the ones who produce those harmful radicals or substances which deplete the ozone layer or which damage the ozone layer. You can see oxygen molecule is made up of two oxygen atoms, and when the oxygen molecule absorb energy from the sun's ultraviolet radiation, then this oxygen molecule split into two oxygen atoms, and now these oxygen atoms react with another oxygen molecule, and after reaction with the oxygen molecule they form ozone, a thin layer of three oxygen atoms called ozone. In this image, you can see this light bluish layer which surround layer of the gases, ozone gas which surround the earth is called ozone layer. And the function of this ozone layer is that it protects the earth from the harmful radiation of the sun. Ozone layer protect the harmful radiation coming from the sun. Now, ozone hole, the region in which amount of ozone has been reduced is called ozone hole. Why the amount has been reduced? I told you due to the reaction of ozone molecule with some pollutants. Those pollutants, they react with ozone and convert them into some other substances. Then the concentration of ozone in specific areas reduced or decreases, which is called ozone hole. Ozone hole was first observed in October 1980 in Antarctica. The chlorofluorocarbons, the pollutants, they are actually, I told you in my previous lecture, that they are highly stable or unreactive on Earth or on troposphere. So they, in unreactive form, they reach to the stratosphere, and in stratosphere they react with the ozone molecule and then in turn destroy the ozone molecule, which in turn causes the decrease in concentration of ozone in some specific area, and that is called ozone hole. So the chlorofluorocarbons are so stable that they only exposure to strong ultraviolet radiations break them down, and when that happens, the chlorofluorocarbon molecule releases atomic oxygen, atomic chlorine, chloro, I told you chlorine is present. So when ultraviolet radiation in stratosphere fall on chlorofluorocarbon, because I told you on Earth and in troposphere, chlorofluorocarbons are unreactive, they are stable. But when they reach the in stratosphere and when ultraviolet radiation fall on chlorofluorocarbon, ultraviolet radiation break the chlorofluorocarbons and chlorine atom removed out or break out from the chlorofluorocarbon. Then this chlorine atom react with ozone, and only one chlorine atom can destroy over 1 lakh ozone molecule, okay, or 100,000 ozone molecules. You can see ozone hole in this image. That is the concentration of ozone decreases in this area, which causes the depletion of ozone layer or reduction of ozone molecule in this area. Also in this image, you can see the reduction of ozone gases in this area. This is the light bluish gas which surround the earth, and that light bluish gas is ozone. And this is earth, atmosphere, ozone layer, and then ultraviolet radiations. They are filtered by these ozone layer, but due to the chlorofluorocarbons, the reduction of ozone molecule in this area takes place, which causes ozone hole, and we also call it, the process is called ozone layer depletion. Ozone depletion and its effect. Over recent years, scientists have discovered a reduction in the amount of ozone in second layer of atmosphere, that is stratosphere. Ozone hole, I told you the region in which amount of ozone has been reduced is called ozone hole, and first observed by in 1980 in Antarctica. Chlorofluorocarbons, I told you, they come from aerosol sprays, from air conditions, from refrigerators, and I told you they escape into the atmosphere because they are highly reactive on Earth and in troposphere. So they are low boiling liquid. They are so inert. Inert means they do not react with any other chemical in the troposphere. So they slowly diffuse or move into the stratosphere and then to the ozone layer, and then ultraviolet radiation breaks chlorofluorocarbon molecule into chlorine free radical. That chlorine free radical react with ozone and then convert it into other products. Then the concentration of ozone decreases day by day in specific area. You can see that this chlorofluorocarbons, when ultraviolet radiations fall on chlorofluorocarbon, it breaks chlorofluorocarbon into, here you can see 3 chlorine atoms, but after breaking, one chlorine atom evolve out and 2 chlorine atoms are left. This chlorine atom or atomic chlorine is highly reactive. It is called radical because you know atomic oxygen has 7 electron in the outermost shell. And if you remember In your grade 9, I told you that if an atom contain odd number of electrons, so that is called radical. So chlorine in this case has 7 electrons in the outermost shell, and it is a free radical, and you know that free radicals are highly reactive. So chlorine free radical react with ozone, because in stratosphere ozone is present. Definitely this free radical will try to react with a substance to get stability. So it will react with the ozone, and you can see in the first step, chlorine, atomic of chlorine or chlorine free radical react with the ozone molecule in the presence of ultraviolet radiation and will form chlorine monoxide and oxygen molecule. So this chlorine monoxide form then in the second step react with atomic oxygen, because I told you oxygen molecule breaks into two oxygen atoms, or ozone can also breaks into oxygen molecule and atomic oxygen. Atomic oxygen are also available in stratosphere because of the ultraviolet radiation, which break oxygen molecule and also ozone molecule to produce atomic oxygen. Then atomic oxygen is also highly reactive, and chlorine monoxide is also highly reactive. They will react together and will form chlorine gas. And this chlorine free radical, sorry, will give chlorine free radical and oxygen molecule. So this oxygen molecule will form. Now, if we add the two reaction, you can see we will cut out the similar terms at both sides. By cutting the similar terms, you can see chlorine monoxide is present in second step. It is also present in first step. So this is the rule. While adding, you have to cut the similar terms at the reactant and product side. Chlorine radical is present in first step. It is also produced in the second step, as chlorine free radical is you can say regenerated in the second step. So it means that it is regenerated, and that's why this chlorine can attack on another ozone molecule and can destroy it. So that's why this chlorine is utilized, and it can destroy 100,000 ozone molecule. Now at this side, ozone is left, atomic oxygen is left, and here two oxygen molecules are left. This is our net reaction. You can see that the net reaction, the chlorine free radical that react in step 1 is regenerated in step 2. So one chlorine can therefore destroy thousands of ozone molecules, and this causes the depletion of the ozone layer. Okay, this is called the depletion of ozone layer, because I told you chlorine free radical, which comes from the chlorofluorocarbons, they causes this depletion of ozone layer, or they causes the ozone hole, or produce the ozone hole. Like ozone hole causes or the ozone, due to the ozone hole, the ultraviolet radiations will not be filtered in those areas where there is reduced concentration of ozone in the atmosphere, and that may cause the ultraviolet radiation to reach in unfiltered form to the earth, and on earth they may cause severe problems. One of the problem is skin cancer. You can see here that if the ultraviolet radiation will not be filtered by the ozone layer due to the ozone hole, then that may cause one of the most you can say problem, that is skin cancer. This was all about the ozone depletion. So in this lecture we discussed the about the global warming, then we discussed about the acid rain, and the last topic was about the ozone depletion. Hope you understand all these topics. Inshallah, some other topics, remaining topics and exercise, inshallah we will do in our next lecture. Till then, take care. Allah.